Here's some rules to live by that I have exercised, especially over the last 12 or 13 years that I've been sharing with the internet, that I think would be beneficial to all of you. This is applicable to all genders, all ages, doesn't matter your race, ethnicity, or anything else, right? So let's jump right in. Rules to live by. Number one, be the first one to show up and the last one to leave. This one is huge because no matter what I did, whether it was my athletic career from starting in basketball to then playing in college and getting a scholarship and playing professionally, to then getting into the sales and real estate world and riding those wheels, still, because, I have a nationwide team now and the whole operation has absolutely exploded. One of the guiding principles behind that and what allowed me to dominate in these prospective fields, one of the foundational pillars was that. First one to show up, last one to leave. Every practice, I was the first one there. I was the one that got the keys from the broker at my first sales office, and I would open the door and be the first one there. And I was the last one to leave. And the reason I adopted that rule is because I decided early on, regardless of where we're at with like talent and all that other stuff, one thing that I can control is my level of effort. Meaning, if I show up first and I leave last, by default, nobody's gonna outwork me. One of my cats. No one's going to outwork me. With that said, again, whether I have talent or not, if I'm not outworked by anybody else, it puts me in an advantageous position. Now, whether it was basketball or my, sales career and real estate and all that, and my entrepreneurial endeavors, I knew that for me, it was super important to up the ante, to really give it my all. And I knew having a rule such as show up first and be the last one to leave would make it easy for me to do those things, right? Or easier, because you're gonna have your rough patches. But if you have the rule of I'm gonna show up first and I'm gonna be the last one to leave, you adopt that Mamba mentality, that Kobe mentality, that Michael Jordan mentality, that LeBron mentality, that Tiger Woods mentality, right? Like the top of the top. Because if we created a super character version of you that, again, in a perfect world, like the Disney fairy tale that had all the best attributes and assets, that would definitely be one. Their work ethic would be second to none because that's what it's tied to, is your work ethic, right? Now, I'm not going to get into the intricacies of all that, but generally speaking, the rule, the first one to show up, the last one to leave. You adopt that, man, your perspective on life and the results that you get in every category will absolutely explode, right? And just so we know, moving on to the second one now, these rules are universally applicable. It's not just for one thing or the other, okay? Number two, physical prowess and physical condition at the highest level must be a rule for you. Now, I'm not saying in the respect of you need to be super ripped and 5% body fat. No, if you want that, great. But I'm talking physical condition, meaning you're flexible, you're athletic, you can move freely and limberly, and you can protect yourself. Right? We need that. When I first started Team BC and I really started growing my team on the real estate side, it was a requirement for my team members to do some kind of combat sport. Now, at the time, I was training boxing a lot, still am now. Not as often as before, but I still am pretty regularly. And I would bring my agents and my employees to the gym and they would train. Now, it was a requirement that they train at least once a week in boxing. Right? But I also let them choose. If they wanted to do kickboxing, Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it didn't matter. I wanted them, men and women, to learn how to defend themselves and to promote physical activity and being in shape, being in decent aerobic shape, anaerobic shape, right? Again, they didn't have to be supermodels, but physical prowess and physical certainty and confidence and all that was important to me. And I know that that plays a direct line and influence into everything else that we do. Exercise relaxes you. Exercise gets the lymphatic system moving, right? It gets you sweating. It gets the impurities out of you, right? It keeps you young. Obviously, it has a lot of benefits, okay? I'm not saying that people kill themselves like professional athletes. You get the point here. But again, physical activity and physical prowess, super, super important. And especially that second one, which is defending yourself, right? Super, super important. And you got to make sure that that's a priority in your list. A lot of people right now are too passive. And I think, and this is especially for men, but for everybody, a lot of men right now are weak and docile because deep down inside they fear confrontation. Meaning they know that if it goes to physical blows or the potential of there being a physical altercation, they're afraid that they're going to get hurt because they don't know how to defend themselves, right? And what I found is through this discipline of learning how to fight, you actually go the opposite route. A lot of people think, oh, you're going to be this try hard, tough guy. No, it actually makes you very calm under pressure because you know you have the capacity now to hurt people, and you don't want to hurt them unless you're sick in the head, right? You don't want to hurt people. So if anything, you'll do your best to diffuse a situation, and it would have to be the last resort for you to really take it to blows. It will inspire and create more discipline within you. But at that core, you will not, or at least you'll have that healthy hesitation and fear for confrontation. It won't be an overwhelming fear coming from weakness because you don't know how to protect yourself or you don't know how to defend yourself. And that you don't want. For both sexes, it's important, but especially for men. So the physical activity, it needs to be a priority. Again, not to be a supermodel, know how to defend yourselves, stretch, be athletic, right? Do the right movements, be active. And not only will you look better, you'll feel better, you're gonna perform better, and it has a direct effect on your emotional state too, right? A lot of times when I go to the gym, if I'm frustrated or not feeling too good for whatever reason, I can take that punishment out on the bag and that frustration and let it go, and I'm good to go. And it's a healthy outlet for those types of things. Now, I personally am at a point where things don't get to me like they used to, but I know in the beginning, it was definitely an outlet for me, and it was super, super important. Number three, right? Number three. And again, none of these, I'm promoting that people be perfect at it. You just want to do it more often than not. If you can get 80, 90% accuracy, you're good. Number three, the image that you put out to the world. Present peak version of you. When I meet with a client, I'm in my suit. When I do my business activities, I'm in a suit, I'm in formal wear, I'm looking good. Outside of when I'm sweating in the gym and maybe that trip from my car, from the gym to my car and then maybe back home real quick, I'm dressed and not that, oh, I'm in a suit, you need to be in a suit. No, I'm looking good and presentable. I have a button up, right? I have nice jeans, nice shoes, it's clean, I smell good, I have a few accessories on. I pay attention to and take pride in the image that I present to the world, not for them, but to hold myself to a higher standard. Because with that comes a lot. The self-discipline, you feel better, you're putting in more effort, and here's the kicker, whether we want to admit it or not, the world responds to you differently. The world responds to you differently. Pull up, like I have, to a hotel in a Lamborghini compared to a Nissan Sentra or a Toyota Camry. Same person, me, right? I pulled up in my ex-girlfriend's Prius. I pulled up in my 2015 Lamborghini for years that I owned. I got treated like royalty anywhere I went with my Lamborghini. But if I went to that same place in my Toyota Camry or my Toyota Prius, I got treated like everybody else. So even though that's not the same thing as dressing, if I show up somewhere in a suit compared to just like in a t-shirt and flip-flops, we're looking at two completely different things, not just in how people perceive you and treat you, but the impact that you create. And I don't want people to get caught up in the suit thing. That's just one example. You know what I'm saying. Putting in effort and dressing appropriately and properly and presenting a good image compared to just doing what everybody else does and, in quotes, wanting to be comfortable. And by the way, I love wearing suits. They're comfortable. I think people do not put any effort in, and that's why they find a lot of these things to be uncomfortable. Or, let's be real, a lot of people are not in good shape. So wearing form-fitting clothes or a suit because they're out of shape or they have a lot of excess body weight and body fat, it's not comfortable. They sweat excessively. It's too tight. Well, whose fault is that? Right? We have to take some burden of that responsibility to say, well, maybe it's uncomfortable because I'm not taking care of myself. Right? But that image that you present and what you do is key. You need to make sure that you're presenting that right image. Now, I know I'll get a comment, well, Bryan, when you shoot a video, you have a t-shirt on. I'm shooting a video, dude. Right? I have plenty of content where I'm in suits, dress shirts and all that, right? And sometimes when I shoot these videos, I'm in between calls. I just got back from the gym and I'm shooting the video. It's not that big of a deal. But 95% of the time, I'm dressed sharp. Remember, I said you don't have to be perfect. Just the majority of the time, be sharp. And that's where you get the results. Okay? Moving on. Next, you need to prioritize the development and constant development and improvement of your communication. Self-talk, and also how you communicate and interact with the world. Communication needs to be a top priority for you. learning, getting better, working on your public speaking, marketing yourself, being able to handle day-to-day conversations like a champion, being witty, being charming, being humorous, right? And again, it's not that you need to be Casanova or a comedian, none of that, right? Because you may not even desire to follow any career path in regards to communication being a vital tool, but that's okay. But overall, your existence will improve, your opportunities will increase, people around you will be affected differently if you improve your communication. Since I've started to really become a student and doing my best to achieve mastery of communication, whatever that means in the end, and also teaching my students now on my team and the people in my communities, right? Man, everything has improved. Personal relationships, romantic and non-romantic, relationship with my parents has improved drastically, night and day different, after really focusing on communication from my end, not them, just me, and improving and going on my journey to improve communication. My ability to express myself and present ideas to people. My ability to just strike up conversations with strangers on the street or at the mall or at an event, to make connections, to make people feel comfortable, to make people laugh, to entertain people, to teach. I'm a more effective leader. I'm a hell of a lot better of a salesperson working on my communication, right? And being able to go into a room and just capture everybody's attention and move them with my words and speak for an hour, 2 hours. I've done some speeches that are 3 hours plus in front of a live audience with no preparation. But that's a result of having done over 1,000 paid engagements now throughout my career and countless other Zoom calls, lives, and all that other stuff that I'm not even counting. But see, I have constantly refined my skill set and made it a priority to improve it over and over and on a daily basis, whether it's reading and going out there and testing things and experimenting and this new sales book that I created and this other book that I'm writing, right? It's a constant improvement on it, giving people tips and helping people. And the fact that, like, when I would go door to door or make calls, one of my goals was every person I interact with, I want to leave them better than when I found them. If I can elevate their mood slightly, if I can put a smile on their face, if they weren't feeling good and by the time I leave that interaction, they feel a little bit better, I'm doing good. Now imagine if everybody improved their communication and everybody adopted on the planet a mentality like that. Wouldn't we all get along more? Wouldn't life be a lot better? Wouldn't people in general be a lot happier and more fulfilled and crave and really want social interaction versus looking around and saying, I don't like anybody, I don't want to talk to anybody, which is kind of the sentiment that you're seeing now? But see, you can also create that state within you and pay very close attention to the first thing that I said when I presented this point, self-talk. A lot of people struggle because their self-talk is horrendous. That's that recording going on in your mind 24/7, 365 that doesn't stop, that you feel like you have no control over. That's the number one influence on you at a subconscious level. Your voice and your self-talk is the number one contributor to your life or destroyer, depending on how it's being weaponized by you. If it's on automatic survival mode, it's destroying you. If you start working on this and you capture control of it and you start utilizing it properly, it becomes the most powerful agent of your creation. But ultimately it comes down to you, and you have to prioritize your journey and development and communication. And out of all the categories that I've spent time in, money in, and effort and everything else, it's been in communication. And my God, the payback has been 10x, 100x, 500x. It's incredible the changes that it's caused in my life and the people around me. And I'm thankful and grateful for that every single day. But that has to be a priority if you're asking me rules that I live by. Okay? Next, I think this would be number 4, is whenever possible, be generous to your fellow man. And when I say man, I mean everybody, right? I'm somebody who comes from humble beginnings. My family's from South America. I grew up not having a lot of money, right? My family immigrated from South America. My parents worked extremely hard, right? And our family in South America, most of them are living in poverty, like 95% of them. And to this day, right, I've had years where I make over $1 million, right? Right now I'm not making over $1 million a year, right? My income went down a little bit. But compared to the people in my family, I'm massively successful. However, I still live very simply. I have an air of humility to my existence. I'm not chasing after, luxury and all this other stuff, even though I've had a taste of it. I've owned a lot of cars, right? But in the back of my mind, this principle that I'm describing to you has always been present. So much so where I could say that I've been a little too generous, where maybe I've taken too many risks or given money to people that maybe I should have pumped the brakes, but that's my mistake. However, I would never let that stop me from being generous. So I would give the last shirt that I have on to somebody else if they were cold and needed it. That's the attitude that I'm describing here. That's that type of generosity and looking. Not that you put yourself in a detrimental position per se, but that you're always looking to help, right? That's why I do my best to answer DMs and get back to people for the most part. I can't answer every single email and DM, but I do my best. I really do. That's why I still manage a lot of my social media. And even if other people are on it, I do my best to personally go through and look at the messages and all that, and maybe read the comments and that kind of thing. Whether they're positive or negative is irrelevant. But I really want to help. Friend moved from California to Florida, needed some money, boom, here's $6,000 or $7,000. Hey, you need money to invest into your business. Most recently, it didn't work out, and it's a debt that I'm paying off. A friend of mine needed some money for a startup company. It didn't work out, right? It went under, but I gave them just under $50,000, right? I've made great and wise investments, but I've also sometimes been a little too generous and a little careless, but that's okay. I'm thankful and grateful again that I'm in a position where I can grant that opportunity to somebody. Now, whether it works out or not is irrelevant. The fact that I can do that is awesome. And that was always one of my goals, was to say, I want to be in a position where I can provide for other people. Like, it blows my mind how cool it is that I can bring in like a new entrepreneur or salesperson to let's say my coaching program, right? And give them attention, information, help, and support at a level that I never even could dream of getting myself when I was coming up. And I can give that to them. I can give them 10, 50, 100x more than I got. Things that took me a year or 2 years to learn, where I would beat my head against the wall, I can teach it to them for them to avoid that mistake, or shrink that 2-year learning period to 2 or 3 months instead of 2 years. That's why now recently in all the stuff that I do in all my programs, I've given more. There's more live calls and we've added more, and I'm constantly adding more in the spirit of being more generous. I mean, look even online. I'm doing 2 long form videos on YouTube a day and 3 shorts. I'm ramping up. So on all levels, more generosity, more speaking events, more collaborations with other agents in my network. I'm doing my best to continuously give and ask the people that are around me, my coaching students, my team members, the people in my network at my real estate company, at Real Brokerage, shout out to them, ask them, does this dude put his money where his mouth is? Ask them. I want you to ask them and verify. Don't just take my word for it. But this is the spirit, generous. Here you go. Now that doesn't mean that it's going to reciprocate. That's okay. As long as I'm being generous. You know why? It puts a smile on my face and it makes me feel good. And at the end of the day, gratitude and that generosity to me is awesome. They're great feelings. It adds to my fulfillment right now personally, right? And I feel like I'm living by the correct code, because as I add things and I start living by my code and making adjustments here and there, right, with different beliefs and philosophies, I also look at what makes me feel better and what ultimately is fulfilling to me. And I know by being more generous in general, I'm not only helping others and providing an opportunity that otherwise potentially they may not have, but it's also gratifying to me too. So it's a double win. Why not? If it puts a smile on my face. If they say, man, I've tried everywhere, but you're kind of my last resort, here you go, not a problem. Super grateful that I can do that. And that to me is super important, and it's definitely a rule that I live by that, again, adds to fulfillment, but it's an awesome thing that I'm finding is a lot more rare nowadays, because a lot of people, and to a degree, rightfully so, are very hesitant, and they're a little more protective of their stuff, especially when it comes to money. This isn't just about money, but it's definitely one of the big ones that people are going to automatically attach to being generous, right? Because this extends far beyond money. I give a lot of my time and effort and help and attention, to people in abundance as much as I can, right? And that's super important. So that's another rule to live by, right? Next, your mind, your space, your environment, your office. Keep internal and external things organized. Just had the cleaning lady come today and tidied up. I have my books here on the rack for the most part. My house isn't perfect right now, but if somebody came through, there's no way they could look at my house and say it's messy. It smells good, it's clean, it's orderly. They would say, okay, especially for I know the stereotypes of a man or a bachelor, they'd be like, wow, well done, right? Not perfect, but damn good. Organization is key. Cluttered space, cluttered environment, cluttered mind. The outside is a manifestation of what's going on the inside. And I can control that with a little bit of effort and intention. I can keep things organized. You guys can't tell me that having a house that smells good and that's organized does not put a smile on your face. And even if you don't do it, you pay somebody to do it because you're successful enough to do that, like I do. The cleaning lady comes regularly. And the landscaper came today to mow my lawn. My house looks A1 right now. That doesn't mean you have to do it yourself, but it's a priority enough to where you'll pay, right? I pay right now because I'd rather spend my time doing something more productive for my businesses and my life than doing that. So it's great. I have the resources. I can pay somebody, give them the blessing of having the job and getting paid. Everything is good, organized, lawn is cut, it looks good in the yard. Inside of the house is clean and organized. Perfect. That's what I'm talking about. But that's a priority to me. How's your car right now? Is your gas tank on E, or you barely have any gas and is your car a mess? That's a problem. I was just talking about that with somebody. People's cars are a mess. That tells me a lot. If I get in somebody's car and it's messy and their gas tank's always on E, those are bad indicators. Why is your gas tank always empty? Again, unless you tell me you literally have no money, then that makes sense. But other than that, right? And why is your car super messy and dirty or not smelling good? Go in my cars. They're spotless. Even my Cadillac right now that's having an electric issue. Go look at it. It's clean. Even when I have the guy come and wash my cars, he washes the Cadillac, even though right now it doesn't even run. So even the car in front of my house still looks clean and presentable. The inside, immaculate. He vacuums it and everything. Same thing with the Audi. But it's a priority. And I know clean environment, decluttered environment, clean environment, decluttered and clean mind. These things are an extension and representation of what's going on up here. If it's not a priority to you, again, it's an indicator that other things are going to be slacking off too. And you have to prioritize these things. As insignificant as you think they are, they're wildly important in the grand scheme of things because all these things are pieces of the puzzle. Right? This is the other cat. All these things are pieces of the puzzle that create that picture of that optimum and ultimate version of you, internally and externally, which is the point here. Okay, so I know I'm at 22 minutes now. We've probably had 4 or 5 points. I'm going to continue this. This will be a multi-part series because there's going to be many rules that I live by. But I think this helps establish a groundwork and a foundation to kind of let you know. Okay, if you guys want, you can check out some of the free resources I have in the description. Check out anything else that you'd be interested in. Contact me if you need any help. I have a new Instagram, right? The new Facebook. Make sure you guys follow me, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, peace.